Hello, everybody. Welcome to In the Mix podcast. This is Wacky Wednesday with Judas Priest and Mr. Fresh. You guys, today we're going to be, we're going to be going over talking about Holy Week, and some things with Easter and this Easter weekend and this Easter holiday. You know what it's all about, where did it come from, and how I am. I like to keep my people informed and our viewers informed and let them know what we doing and how we doing it and why we doing it. Because I never want to be the person that want to be a part of something and don't know actually all that it is to know about it. Where it's from and everything. Look, we Lady T now. I don't know how we became that, but
we are not Lady T.
Can somebody edit that for us? I don't even know how that happened. So let's start off. Okay, guys, let me go back today. So let me tell you about this. This is what we call Holy Week. During this week, several things happen. For the Christian faith, this week is about Jesus Christ. God sent His only begotten Son to come down. This is the week that He get tried. He goes from judgment hall to judgment hall. This is the week that He does communion for the first time, the Lord's Supper, the Last Supper. And this is the week that He died on the cross, being crucified. He was buried in a borrowed tomb, and then He was risen 3 days, 3 nights. So this is a very significant week for Christianity because it represents and it stands and it's the structure and the building found of everything that we believe if you're a Christian. So this is a great day. However, there are some things that happen through the years and it's things that's in there that's kind of like, when people ask, and people are starting to ask because we in that information age, and people want to know, what the bunny got to do with it, or what the Easter eggs got to do, right? Because then
why we dye these eggs,
and why we dye the eggs and everything, and it's so that's what we decided to do today. We're gonna talk about this, so because it kind of like. Especially when you got little kids and they like, here come Peter Cottontail riding down the bunny trail. Hibbity hobbity, Easter's on his way. Then they be like, oh yeah, the Easter bunny coming. We used to stay up all night. We make our Easter baskets, dye our eggs. We do the Easter egg hunt. We do all of that. And then y'all tell us we gotta get dressed and our Sunday's best and go to church on Sunday. We had to go to church on Friday, and then Saturday is that concert, the Easter concert that we be in there all day.
Oh, yeah, you know all about that.
Used to be there all. Hey, we used to go to everything. Then Sunday we go to the church. And we do our parade in the church and walk around in our outfits. And then you have people that had those kitty cabarets. You know about Tiny talked about the 80s and the 90s. Oh yeah, Lady T talked about that this week. That was definitely a thing, the kitty cabarets. Act like you don't know. Definitely went to the kitty cabarets. And that's when the dance contest we could dance off. Oh, go out there, show them my baby can dance. Mm-hmm. Yes, but I'm just gonna say none of that is the real thing with Easter and where it came from. And today I got a long time friend. Good times, yes, brother. And I got my friend. He's on here on the audio. So his name Derrick, and he's gonna be here. And we just gonna have a nice conversation and talk about Easter. Every year we all rush and tuck into the sweets that are awaiting us on Easter Sunday. But do you know some of the some of the fun facts that surround this religious holiday? Easter Sunday, or for Christians known as Resurrection Sunday, is one of the most important days of the year for Christians, as it is the celebration of Jesus being resurrected from the dead. But before you settle down for a Sunday roast, why not impress your loved ones with knowledge of the history of Easter. Have you ever wondered where the Easter Bunny story originated? We can say that the story of rabbits bringing eggs doesn't make a lot of logical sense. So there must be a reason as why every year children rush to see treats they mystically mythical
Hmm.
creature has left for them. But just like Santa Claus, no Christian significance to Christmas. So just like Santa Claus have none significant Christian reason to Christmas, the Easter Bunny also has no real connection to this holy day. The origin of the Easter Bunny dates back hundreds of years, beginning in a pre-Christian Germany. Here, the hare was said to be a symbol of the pagan goddess of spring and fertility. As Christianity spread across Europe, pagan traditions were blended with the Christian holidays. We saw the Easter Bunny lay a nest of colorful, today maybe chocolate eggs for children who were well behaved on Easter Sunday. Um, so let's start that off right quick. I'm just gonna hit on it for a bit, And so the thing I like about that is that so what happened was it kind of like somebody else's culture and another culture just pretty much intertwined and mashed together because that's what happens when we get people into our and when people come in your culture and stuff we know that if you people who are the scholars know and historians know when people take over other people's country and stuff their religion their culture and all that stuff normally comes with and you pick it up and people pick up and do whatever else. Oh, they did. This is what we do in our country. So, and you try to be nice and you incorporate it. So, okay. The next fun fact we have about Easter is around the question why is Easter called Easter? So, according to scholars, this Christian holiday was named after the Anglo-Saxon goddess Estra, who was depicted as a fertility goddess and the goddess of dawn and light. She was honored at the pagan festivals celebrating the arrival of spring, further highlighting the blend of pagan traditions and Christian holidays. For countless generations, Ukrainians have been decorating eggs as a calling out to gods and goddesses of health and fertility. The tradition is the act of paisanika, is made by using wax and dye, but these colorful customs didn't take off until Ukrainian immigrants came into the U.S. So again, uh, it's crazy, right? However, so what happens, because a lot of people wanted to know and ask me, and then you get into it with people about, or you talk about, different things about holidays, your holiday, your religion, and then they be like, oh, well, what did it got to do with the bunny? It's not whether the bunny has anything to do with it, and Easter eggs and the hunting. And then we just learned and we just heard that, it was a clash of cultures. And I have a couple of things about that. Number one is America is a mixing pot, right?
Yeah.
It's so many people that come to America, and and we welcome so many cultures and so many people, religions, and things like that. So over time, things just mixed together, and people, picked up certain things and did things because I thought that was nice. When you go to somebody's house for the first time and they do something and you see it, and then next time you do something, you say, "Oh, I saw something when I was over such and such a. Let me try it," and you incorporate it in your tradition and things like that. It's a couple of things I have with that though. One thing I have with that is that it goes back to when God told the people of Israel, don't do what these other pagans and heathens do because of that. Because you're going to pray to God, their gods, and you're going to pick up all of their bad habits. And so, what Lord behold, what do you look like? It look like the United States just picked up a whole bunch of people's bad habits and incorporated into our religion. Now, we are thankful that we do have freedom to our truth and our religion and our belief and they're giving us holidays to so that we can celebrate our religion and celebrate our belief because we could be awful. We get off of work for Good Friday, and we get off of work for Easter, and so we do recognize that, and the same thing as Christmas. We know that Christmas, Christ wasn't born in the cold and 25th and Christmas, but it's what our government gave us as a date to actually celebrate.
Yeah, they actually pay you. They don't pay you for Easter.
They don't pay y'all for Easter? Ooh, that contract.
I guess like Christmas is enough.
Well, wait, the bank open on Christmas or the Good Friday, right?
No, I work Good Friday.
Right, the bank are closed on Good Friday, so Good Friday is considered a holiday.
Well,
what's going on, Derrick? How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up, Manny? Hey, Rod, what's going on? Y'all all right?
Yeah, man. It's nice to see you, man.
Nice to see y'all too. Thanks for inviting me on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So okay. So now let's get into some stuff. So Derrick, how long have you been practicing Christianity?
I've been practicing Christianity. I've been practicing Christianity. Wow. Well, let's just say this. I've been going to church for a long time.
Okay. But
when did I start really following Jesus and following biblical? I want to say the early 2000s. Until I really got that conviction in my soul, in my heart, to really go forth in the gospel.
Okay. Thank you for that, Derrick.
That's not me.
Thank you. So have you? Okay. So let's break this down then. So I have one question for you then. That I just want to know. Just for.
What did I get myself into?
Stop it! It's not gonna be bad.
It'll be bad.
Okay, so do you guys? So I just want to know because it's not a bad thing because what starts off is that the church. I know we got a lot of Easter services. I've been already looking and stuff. You get a lot of people that say Easter service, Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday and stuff like that. I know at my church we switched and changed over to the Resurrection Sunday. So we had took out Easter once he told us about what the difference between Easter and Resurrection Sunday and things like that.
We say Resurrection Sunday as well.
Right. So yeah, that's what I was getting at too. I know there's some people, it takes a long time, and then traditionally wise, when people are been saying Easter and saying it's Easter for years, then of course it's how hard it's going to be to transition people to actually getting away from and or unconnecting the things that was already connected that we got connected with. So Derrick, tell us about you and your.
So what is Easter? What is Easter Sunday to me, or Resurrection?
Yeah, it's Holy Week, the whole week. What do it? I mean, because it signifies such a great thing for the Christian faith and believers. So, as a believer, and it's just a believer, somebody who's who follow Christ and try to tend to what Jesus was talking and walking on this earth. What this week means to you?
I mean, this week to me, it's joy in this week, because what's about to transpire on Good Friday when Christ goes on the cross. Earlier in the week they were lifting him up. They were saying Hosanna, Hosanna, and they were worshiping him and they were honoring him and they were falling at his face. And later in that week plot to have him killed. And, and of course he at this point he goes before Pilate. He gets whipped 39 times. They spit on him, they mock him, they make a crown, they put it in his head, and he doesn't say a word, and then they make him carry his cross, and then he goes up to the cross, and he's nailed to the tree, and and while he's on the cross, he still forgives sin. He forgives the thief while he's on the cross, and then he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And then he dies. He dies. On the third day, he rises up, and that was a chance for me, and I take it individually, for me to give my life to the Lord. I mean, one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible, I mean, we all know it, is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. I always make that personal. For God so loved Derrick that he gave his only begotten son, that if Derrick believed, I should have everlasting life. Um, you know, people try to, discredit the work at the cross with all types of, other doctrine, all types of other religion. And the thing about this is, even if you don't believe, he still died for you. Even if you don't want to receive it, he still died for you. Even if you think it's a white man's religion, he still died for you.
Right. And you know what I found that was interesting, even when you research and you go through history wise, now even if you're not a religious person or you don't want to believe in God or his son, if you go through this through the historical way and historicals through the Romans and all, you go through all these documents and you go through all this historical stuff. There is still evidence that this incident did still happen. From the legalize of having a borrowed tomb, and from it being brought in front of Pilate and being threatened to be told to Caesar. All of these things was all still accounted for historically wise through regular science and regular information. In fact, there was a gentleman that went and he did the a study, like how you go back and do cold case, and he did a cold case on Jesus, and they go back to see right, and it was really interesting because it was all information and facts that he can touch, you can see, you can read, you can witness accounts to say that this event actually happened. So that right there, number one, always got me like, whoo, is it when it's real when that happened, when you have different historical accounts. And one thing about people, witnesses telling their story, everybody can see things differently. But when everybody telling the same story, but it's just in a different point of view, then it still happened. And so that's the thing about this particular thing that I've always been interested about, because that is all fact stuff, and they're all things that was given facts, accounts. The Romans, their historians don't have no reason to lie, especially because they didn't care for Jesus or his ministry, so there's no need for them to lie. And the Jewish custom is always with 2 or 3 witnesses and 2 or 3 people. That's how they
governed it,
and that's how they knew everything was a fact and true and right. Right. So when you look at that, hey, then you can say that this is something too. But this is also the heart and soul of Christianity, and what saves and what is Christianity is about, and what birth Christianity, because we was all, what it said, we was all lost.
Right. And Derrick, I have a question for you, right? Let's talk about Jesus for a second.
I hope I have an answer.
Jesus, right? Let's say, how would you explain Easter to somebody that'd be like, saying this doesn't make any sense, and like, what is this Jesus guy? How would you explain who Jesus is and what is his importance to Christianity?
Well, let me take a step with that. Well, first of all, the best way that I can convince anybody about this Christ that I have is my lifestyle. You know, I try to, because we're written epistles being studied upon man every day. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to convince them through my lifestyle. I want to be the city, the salt. I want to be the light. I want to be whatever I want to be the mirror. I want to be the image that reflects Christ. Because although Christ is not here on physically on earth no more, we are the forerunners for the second coming of Christ. So it's very important to me that I represent the gospel. And to explain it, sometimes I would say the Lord, because sometimes the Lord will just lay things on my heart. You know, when I'm witnessing to someone, he will give me the words to say that very hour. So it really depends on the situation. So the most important thing to me is just making sure that I'm the light, you know, and that I'm being led by God. And if they ask about Christ, I'll tell them the story. I'll tell them, you know, I'll go back to Adam and tell them how man fell from grace and how we once used to walk with God and what happened when we fell. And I'll tell them about the second coming of Christ and how Christ's second coming redeemed us to go back to God and the importance of us having a relationship with God, and that little still voice that's tugging on you or tugging in your heart. That's God trying to get your attention back, because all souls belong to God, but the soul that's in it should die. And all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And I will just explain the story of the resurrection of Christ.
Right. I like that, and then I like the ending part that you said about, you know, because a lot of people believe that, you know, you have to be perfect, and this is a ongoing thing that a lot of people believe that we, as a Christian, you're perfect and you don't do anything wrong and you don't sin, and it's really scary that they have that misconception, because if we was perfect or able to be perfect or not sin, then there would be no need for Jesus to die, right?
Right.
Because he died because we was imperfect, in fact, and we was far from God, and we wanted to do what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. So the fact that Jesus came, he came for imperfect beings, so that we can have in a way to be connected back with the Father. So I just want to, for anybody who think that, you know, you got to be perfect or get your life right or stop doing this or stop doing that before you can accept him, then, you know, what do you say to those people?
Well, yeah. See. That's okay. So think about it like this: you accept a job, right? And in that job, it's training that you go through, and the money's real good. But you don't say, "Oh, I'm not going to take this job because I don't know how to do the job." You train and you learn and you go through the process. So there's a process that we have to go through. Um, when we first come to Christ, because it's our sinful nature. David said this. He said, "In sin did my mother conceive me." So we were born into sin. So it's easier for us to pick. It's easy for us to pick up on sin, and then to do good things. And that's because we're sinful. We're sinful beings. But we have to learn about Christ. We have to allow the Lord to deal with us. We have to spend time. We have to spend time with him and get to know him. He said, "Come to me, all that labor, for my yoke is easy and my burdens are light." So as we learn of Christ and as we learn of his divinity and what he has done for us, things kind of go away. You know, we're not perfect. Again, going back to what I stated earlier, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So the moment that you hear his voice talking to you, harden not your heart. Don't say, "Well, I got to get this in order. I got to get that in order." Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. So
Right.
the moment that you hear him pricking at your heart, that's when you come. That's the invitation to come to Christ. I remember one time I was going to the gym and I was about to start working out, and I told the trainer, "Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow to train." The trainer told me, "No, I should start right then and there because I had the will to do it right then and there." When you got the will to do something, that's when you do it.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been started the gym a couple of times.
Yeah.
That was a very spot there. They love that, and I like that because I always look at Christianity and especially my Christianity as an individual relationship with God and with Christ. And I tell people all the time. He said, every man work out his own salvation with fear and trembling. And when I think about that, that means that you don't know what I've been through, and I think about this during this week because also this was the week. Remember when Mary she decided to take the alabaster box and she tried to and she was going to use it on God, on Jesus rather, and remember Judas got upset at her and said, "How dare you waste that oil?" And we can sell that and help the poor. And God and Jesus quickened them and stopped them and said, "Hey, the poor you will always have,
with you,
but the Son of Man you don't have that much load with him." And it was during this week again. He was telling them, "Hey, I'm getting ready to die," and he said that she was preparing them for what was to come. And when I think about that, like you don't know the cost you don't know the cost of her praise, and you don't know all the things that was done, God done for her. So she was able to express it in that way, and that's how I feel like with this whole Christian walk and Christianity that it's an individual things. What I can't tell you what God's done for you. I only can tell you what He's done for me and the things that I know that He's done for me. When I tell people this all the time, I open book. People who follow in the mix know that I talk about, especially my kidney failure and me being on dialysis, and that's just another thing that God has helped me and was there for me because I didn't even know that my kidneys was failing and all of this. And so when I think about I'm 36 years old. I'll be 37 in a couple of weeks. And when I think about the different things that happens to me and I've been protected or a miracle happened or doctors can't explain what turned it around and they go to specialists. I like going to being sent to this specialist and that specialist to say, "Oh, well, we don't know why this happened and this normally don't happen," because I can say that I know that my mother, I know that my grandmothers and I know my family and the way that we was raised and the way that we was taught, I know that there's a God in heaven and that's looking out for me, that's taking care of me, that's doing things. When things and it come with so easy. Sometimes I go somewhere and everything just fall in place. Things happen to me. I know that I'm not that arrogant and I'm not that naive to say that's just me and I'm just that good. No, I know there's something above me. There's a God that's above me, that's looking down and taking care of me and guiding me and making the moves for me. I'm just walking in the way He's doing it for me. And that's how I tell people, like I can't, I'm not gonna force God and I can't force God on you. Because no matter what I say and do, if God doesn't prick your heart and say, "Hey, come to me," and don't start knocking at your door, then there's nothing I can go blue in the face. You're not gonna receive it anyway.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So there's another positive attitude here. I have another question, right?
Oh.
So, because I know I have a few people I talk to, and they still okay. Let's just do this. When Jesus came, right? He he covered the 10 Commandments, right?
Yes, He did.
He covered, he did his thing with the 10 Commandments, and so he summed the 10 Commandments up in 2 commandments, right?
Yeah.
So are the 10 Commandments still play any use in our? Do we still need to really identify it and preach and teach on it, or do we just kind of like, since Jesus, conquered it, did his thing, conquered it, did it, finished up the 10 Commandments with summed up in 2, and so because some people, they feel like the 10 Commandments still play a big part, and some people are like, well, Jesus solved the 10 Commandments in 2. I mean, so do you think we still should teach on the 10 Commandments,
So here's that. So here's the answer. There's more than 10 commandments. We know the ones that go up to the mountain. There were like 600 rules or laws they had the Jews had to obey, and they really had a hard time keeping up with the law during that time.
Yeah.
And Jesus said himself, he fulfilled the law. Everything was fulfilled. Everything was fulfilled to him. So here's the thing.
Dang it. Okay.
Yeah,
he did. So let's continue that then. So he did at that point. Jesus did tell them that he did fulfill the law. However, he said in those two commandments, can you fulfill it all? Is everything in fulfillment? So, and one of them is the Lord, love the Lord thy God with all that heart, all that mind, all that spirit, and the treat and the golden rule that everybody, no, we teach the golden rule all the time: treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Pretty much like the neighbor, love thy neighbor as thyself. And those two, you actually do fulfill, because if you love your neighbor like yourself, there's several things that we know that it's not going to happen. Number one, you're not going to kill yourself.
Right.
You're not going to steal from yourself. You know what I'm saying? So idealistically, those two comments works really good. Unmuting me. Okay.
Wait, you don't hold the camera. You gotta take that one out.
No, that's me.
Oh.
That's Lady T. So in those two instances, we know that that the 10 Commandments are still laws to be kept. They're good laws. And that's what I want to tell people. We always look for ways of things not to do.
A lot of people try to get around.
Right.
They really good laws.
However, it's like this whole thing. Let me explain this to you. People say this all the time. What if you following this man-made religion or this white man religion and all of this stuff, and it's not, and at the end of the day you die.
I was gonna get to that too.
You die.
I think that Derrick faded out.
And then what? And you die. What? Then you feel bad? No, I don't actually, because it's not like it's a bad thing. It's not like Christianity is having me kill people, sacrifice myself. I'm not doing all of this crazy stuff. It's just wanting me to be a better person and to encourage other people to be a better person and to do good things. Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with not committing adultery, not committing fornication, not stealing, not murder, not being jealous, what's wrong with being love and saying that love casts out perfect sin and that it casts out all fear and love your neighbor and love your mama and love your family and friends. There's nothing wrong with that. So at the end of the day, if I die and Christianity was not real, or the whole everything came out being false, I still lived a good life, and you can still say it was good. Right. It's better you. Why do people always want to cut out the parts, to take in parts instead of utilizing everything given? It's a better you. And you're right. And that's what we were saying. Why not follow and try to still live up to the 10 Commandments? It's a better you. It's a better you and for me. Okay. I'm about to put you back in. Go ahead, man.
Well, yeah. I love that, and I'm a firm believer that the 10 Commandments are still useful and always will be useful. I've never felt like you should do away with the 10 Commandments, even though it was summed up. Pretty much they say Jesus summed it up in 2, but the 10 Commandments still serves a major purpose in God's word. You know why? Because it's God's word.
Right. All right, Derrick, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Derrick, go ahead. Finish it.
No, I don't know what happened. I got disconnected. I thought my internet went down, but I know I paid my cable bills.
That's okay. Okay, he was asking you, so. Go ahead. I do.
going to go out again. I'm going to lose connection again. Is this something I'm losing connection, guys? But my internet
Okay,
works.
just go ahead till you talk, because it's still you got it. So we was asking. Remember, we was asking you about.
Yeah, basically what I was saying was that the 10 Commandments. If you love God and you love your neighbor, you're going to do right by them, and in that you're going to fulfill the 10 Commandments. You're going to not commit adultery. You're not going to bear false witness. You're not going to sleep with your brother's wife.
Right, and that's what Jesus was saying when you cut out too.
Yeah, and you're not going to kill. Steal, steal. If you're walking upright before, because if you're walking upright before God, all you really, and when you do have a relationship with God, all you really want to do is please Him. Love God, love God's people.
Right. You're right, and that's the key thing. Just love. If that's what, because we was okay. So this is the other thing we were saying just before you came back on. So, the next thing people say is, what if you die and then at the end of it all, do we find out Christianity didn't happen and it's not true and you just die? So what do you say to people who say that? Because I know a guy like you who witnessed and talked to people about it, I know they throw it into you because they throw it into every. That's the first thing everybody love to say. And you wrong, and then what's gonna happen?
Well, what if you die and you find out that it was real? So at the end of the day, what's wrong with me loving my brother or loving my sister and esteeming somebody higher than myself? At the end of the day, it's gonna make me a better person anyway. It's gonna make people that want to be around me. So what's wrong with that? At the end of the day, that I'm not trying to get over on you, and you're not trying to get over on me. We just be better people.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what I said. It doesn't make a difference at the end of the day, if I die and then I find out that okay, this not real, then I still feel like I still lived a good life. It wasn't like a horrible life. I wasn't a bad man. So you see what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we just look for a reason to accept the bad things that we do.
Yeah.
So we don't want anything because everybody's okay with God until it get to the what you can and can't do. You see what I'm saying? And once they get to the can't things, then everybody, I'll go find this other religion. Then you got the new people that talk about, oh well, I believe in God, but I don't believe in Jesus. Why? Because Jesus said you got to do this and got to do that. I believe in God. There's a God, but then we don't know which one. I'm still trying to find the right God. Because we don't want anybody. It's just like we were kids again. When we was kids, we didn't want people to tell us what we could and can't do. And when somebody say, "Don't do that," that's something I want to do that. What's wrong with that? It's fun. Or you still try to do it, or you be like JJ and still do stuff.
So, Derrick, let me ask you another question. So, what do you say to someone when they say to you, how do you? I mean, what makes you believe that Christianity is the right way to go, the right religion to follow?
Well. It's my faith. So I guess it's my faith in God. It's something that was tugging at my heart. That Judaism, the Muslim faith, and Christianity are the three largest religions in the world.
Right.
And yet these other religions still acknowledge Christ. So it's something that has to be said about a man that is acknowledged in other religions, whether you choose to believe it or not. That's powerful. So that within itself made me say, okay, I'm going to give my life to Christ. I'm going to serve this God. I'm going to go this way. It's not because my mother was in church or my father was in church. It was because when I did my research, it is what compelled my heart. It was compelling for me to come to Christianity, for me to give my life to him, to me to serve this great God that seems to be everywhere you go. And it's been 2,000 plus years and they still trying to shut down the name of Jesus. And yet it just goes, and yet his name has not been shut down yet. They ban, prayer in schools. They don't want you to mention certain religious references. Yet his name still lives on, which his gospel is still preached. So that's powerful.
Right, man. I love that answer, man. I love it.
Right. So for you, it's because of his name has definitely been on and been living, and it's being used and you're right. It's definitely, and it touches everybody still.
All right, I got one more question for you.
Man,
this is you'll like this. This is easy and it's fun. Favorite gospel song and why?
Ooh. Okay.
Bro, man. Bro,
I told you gonna like this one. I told you gonna like this one.
Bro, it's so many gospel songs that I like. Man, I remember when I first came to Christ, one of my first favorite gospel songs was Dietrich Haddon, "Don't Let Me Fall." That was a long time ago. Then
what's his name now? B Slade.
Oh, that's talking about Make Me Over.
You talking about Dietrich? He said Dietrich Haddon, but that was back then. Now he got caught there, but Dietrich Haddon definitely. Yeah.
And then it was Fred Hammond, "Jesus Be Offense." Man, honestly, I love Israel Newbury. I love his.
Oh, that's one of my favorite albums.
I love his stuff. Of course, I listen to a lot of Christian rap, but I was listening before Lecrae.
That's how we first started. We started off when we first was working. He used to talk to me about Christian rap. And I used to be like, "Sir, I do not like Christian rap. I like Christian music, and I listen to Christian music, but I could not feel it on Christian rap." And he was the one who got me on with Christian rap.
But it really depends on like what season I'm in. I love praise and worship. I love worshiping God. So it really depends on the season in my life that I'm going through sometimes.
Okay.
Because music is so powerful.
It is.
I remember a song called for David to play the instrument so that he can soothe the demons away. There's something.
You're right about that. Because when I'm not doing good and I'm going through some stuff, baby, I put on some gospel music, and it does. It changes the atmosphere. It changes
the atmosphere.
It does. It really does. And then most of the time, it's connected to a memory or something that God has done for me that makes me can draw from that, and then so I can get my energy back. I can get my happiness, my joy back. And sometimes it's just encouraging, just to hear the words and what's saying, and makes you meditate on it. So you're right about that. I would encourage anybody right now that if they're going through something, to go back and listen to something and pick up that music and
my favorite is God Favors Me.
Oh, God favors.
Don't worry about your haters. Your haters can't do nothing for you. I love it when you say that part.
Well, this is why Resurrection is my favorite everything to talk about, because the songs has always been there. I remember being young and as a kid, and I just remember the ministering and preaching, and we was kids, so we paid attention sometimes, and sometimes we played. But I knew on Easter Sunday the pastor was gonna talk about Jesus being going from judgment hall to judgment hall, and people whipping them all night long, and I remember that he'd get excited and get to talking about. And he was, and it wasn't his tune; it was a borrowed tune. and and no, and, and it just excited me because I'm like, man, this is a good story. What a comeback! And just when you thought it was in, and then if you was in a choir, you got to see there is no greater love, and you was singing, they hung them high, they stretched them wide, and it just got emotional because we was singing and we was doing the moves. They hung them high, they stretched them wide, and then we was like, that's not how the story is. On the third day, it was like what type of, that was the greatest, you know what, when you look it up, it said the greatest story ever told. To this day, greatest story ever told. And it just be like, wow, you get happy because you be like that, the devil thought he won. He was already rejoicing and saying that death and victory, where's that sting? Man, and then next thing you know, 3 days later, he done rose up and say, so that's a great, powerful overcome story. And it tells us that we can overcome, and that's why he say that, hey, don't be troubled by the world, for he overcome the world. And so because he overcame the world, we know that we will overcome the world, that we will do great. So, I just get excited. I tell people, if you ain't go this Sunday, if you ain't go Palm Sunday, I woke up 6 o'clock in the morning. One thing I can say about those churches now on internet, I went to about 6 churches Palm Sunday. I was in every church. And I tell you what, this is how I know we serve a true and living God, because all the messages was the same. Everybody's message was talking the same. Everybody was talking about Jesus' triumphant entry and about, and they was talking about how the King of Glory came in on a donkey. Woo! Something that's not even seen as a harmful or powerful for a king. It was a humbleness. He came in humble, low and humble on a horse to tell you that he came to be the Prince of Peace and not to be the king that come in. But he was telling them that he was the King of Glory. And I just get happy because I say, when it makes sense to you and it feels good. And it's something that it bubbles you up and it excites you. I tell you what, if serving God or believing that you are a Christian or serving Christ doesn't make you happy or don't make you feel good, then don't do it. I'm just going to say that because it got to do something to you, because we get persecuted, not here in America, but there are people who get persecuted for this. Mm-hmm. And so it got to be real to you. And it got to be real enough to you that you would die for it, like the disciples did. That you would, that you would sacrifice, that the missions that he asked us to go and tell people and go. And people they shy away from you. They okay with you, but the moment you start talking about this and Jesus,
when you mention Jesus' name, they walk away.
I'm good. I'm a believer. I'm a believer.
Just don't mention Jesus.
Right. And
so believe until you mention Jesus.
Because Jesus is the way. Remember, he said that no man come to the Father except through the Son. Through Jesus. You is a robber and a thief if you come any other way. And this is why I tell people, this is why it's important. Thanks, Bob.
Talk about it.
This week. This is why Holy Week is important, because it's the staple of the Christianity and the belief this week. And I always, and especially on this podcast, we bring up all the time what the Bible saying, what God has tell us and believe, even when it comes down to relationships and marriages and all different types of good things, because it's not nothing bad. This is not nothing horrible. This is not. It's so much stuff going on in this world, and y'all know it, because what I do every week, I talk about hot topics and things that's going on, and talk about these crazy people that losing their mind. What better way to fight them is doing this. This is what he's given us. And and for those who don't know, if you don't have a church home, there are plenty of churches that you can go to. And don't be afraid to say, you went to that church and you didn't like that church. Yeah. It is okay for you to go to another one, and that wasn't the one for you, because you want to find the one that you are good with, the one that you think that you get what you need and believe in what that pastor's saying, and find out what they stand for. There's so many, and I don't want anybody to, and I know a lot of us been church hurt. I know we went to church and and a lot of things happen or things was done to you and things like that, and that's okay. But don't let that be the end of you trying to find a connection and a fellowship with God, because we are, once again, the people in the church are still human, and we are still, and we still prone to have human affections, emotions, attitudes, and everything else. So okay, that church might not be right for you. Go to another church, find another church, or go online until you can find a church that you can physically go into. Just don't let it keep you from actually getting in a relationship with God. Derrick, tell them about your church and where's it at and where they in your times.
We're at in Detroit, New Creation Church of God in Christ on East Road, 527 East 7 Mile Road, where the pastor is Pastor of Orlando, Elder Charleston. We have Zoom services for those who would like. I can definitely give you the link for the Zoom service. We also have services starting at Sunday, 10 a.m. And we're usually out of service about 11:30, 12 o'clock.
Oh, that's even. Woo! Let me stop. However, I'm just saying that is.
Well, listen. We like football, so we got game playoffs, everything. Go on and give God his praise. If the Lord want to take over after the service, so be it. Let him have his way. And
that's awesome. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to end.
Yeah.
We about to end it. But don't forget to check us out tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be great, you guys. We have our pastor, our only pastor, Willie C. Montgomery.
Yeah, man. He be in the building with us.
Yes, my mother said God will lead you to the right place. Pray about it.
Right.
She's right about that. Because I was about to say, this man has been our pastor for years, and he will always be my forever pastor. This is what I call him, and he will be here tomorrow. Pastor Willie C. Montgomery will be in the building, and we will be talking about the 3 days and the 3 nights, okay? And I'm going to tell you this. My pastor don't hold back, and he do not play. So it's gonna be fun, because the 3 days and 3 nights is very important in this Holy Week. And like I said, we want to talk about things that are for our education and for us to get knowledge, so that we won't be out here saying things and people catch us and say, "Well, that's not true." And people always they want the truth, so we're gonna give it to them. And so we're gonna talk about the 3 days and 3 nights, because I was watching the video and it had said something about. Was they technically wasn't talking about 3-4 days and 3-4 nights. So we're going to talk about the 3-4 days and 3-4 nights and dive into that with our pastor, Willie C. Montgomery. Please be here tomorrow. It's going to be a great and awesome time. He's a man of God who knows his word and his history, and it's going to be fun, you guys. But thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Derrick, for coming on and just talking with us.
I always wanted to be a part of the show.
Nice to see you, though, man. Nice to see you, my friend.
It's nice to see you too, bro. Long time, man.
I know, long time.
But you guys, don't just take our word for it this week about Holy Week and about the different things that happen and in the Bible. There's for those who want to look it up themselves, I do have information for you guys to look it up. I'm going to put it up. Oh, there it go. It's about to come up on your screen right now. And these are just for those people who are looking for where they can find the story of the Holy Week events. This week it's just talking about the different things. Now I brought this up today for a reason. So if you guys, but tomorrow we will be going back over this week with God, Jesus, and what Holy Week happened and what happened during Holy Week. So you guys take a look at that. Thank you guys again for watching In the Mix podcast today. We celebrate Holy Week this whole week. Don't forget, if you don't have anywhere to go Sunday, today is a good day to start Googling where to go and who to check out on, see how many of your family members at church, and then, still use this as a time to get with your family and your friends. And if anybody is cooking ham, macaroni and cheese and stuff like that, let me know. I'll stop by and get a plate, not give a plate, but get a plate. And it better be good, because I have a podcast show, because the next week I will talk about that food on my show. Thank you very much. You guys have a blessed day.
Be blessed.
See you tomorrow.
We got y'all.